going to shift this up a little bit. I've got a question for you. How many of you are into having fun? Raise your hand. Okay, there's a couple of people, you're not so sure. How many of you are into learning some really cool skills that you can take back and use? Yeah, like that idea? Okay. That's what we're going to do today in this last session. I'm going to go over 10 ways to become an incredibly powerful healthcare communicator. And you're going to leave with some tips and some skills, and we're going to have a little fun in the process, okay? So the first one deals with this concept called presence. Now, the word presence actually comes from two things. One is a moment in time, and it's also a gift. But presence is the number one way to grow your business. You grow your business by growing your presence. Okay? That makes sense? Your presence. And it really, as I mentioned, it comes from the moment, and it's a gift. So think of presence as your gift to someone else in the moment. That's what presence is. Are you present for them? Now, my colleague Robert John Hughes and I did a book a few years back called Enhance Your Presence. We defined it as an intentionally generated state of human consciousness rising from mindful attentiveness to one's own self and another human being. And we came up with something called the presence model. And I want to go through the steps of this because it begins with two divergent energies, attention and intention. Attention is what you do when you're right there. You're gathering that information, you're there, you're soaking it up. You are an attending physician. That's where that comes from. Intention is the goal that you have for that interaction. We're going to come back to that in a minute, because what I'm going to talk about is what should your intention be in that moment. So hold on to that one. Then, of course, you've got to have some skills. Now, what are the skills you need? You need to be able to clarify your message and organize presentations and communicate caring and empathy. You've got to be able to instill confidence that this procedure will be the right procedure for a given person. You've got to provide reassurance. You've got to deliver clear, helpful education, become comfortable with video. That's the way we're communicating these days, with video. And you have to do all of that and deliver great outcomes. So it's a lot of stuff to be able to do. And to do this, obviously the fuel that drives you is passion. If you don't have passion for what you do, you don't love what you do, you don't come home and say, wow, what a great day I just had. I mean, I was a real family doctor too. And I got to tell you, and I was an ER doc. And I came home burned out and exhausted. And that great sucking sound was my energy going down the tubes. But here's the question. Your intent really needs to be just one thing. And in fact, if you take home nothing else from this presentation, here it is. Your intent, your purpose, is to create in the hearts and minds of other people a new possibility for them. I'm up here right now giving a talk. What is the purpose of this talk? Is to create new possibilities in your minds and hearts. Now, if you think your intent is to sell somebody a procedure, do you think they don't know that? Do you think they don't feel that? You don't think they get that vibe that you're trying to sell them something? But if your intent is to light up within them a possibility for them in their hearts and minds, then you have succeeded with the presence model. And then actually, if you believe in a possibility for others and you present it with passion, no one can refute you. They can argue with you, yeah, but they can't refute you because it is a deeply held belief that you have. Now, how does presence differ from mindfulness? There's a lot of stuff in the medical literature about burned out doctors being mindful. Mindful is great. You breathe, you relax, you watch things come in, you watch things go out, you're in the moment. Nice stuff. But in the healthcare setting, you have an intent. You have an intent to help that person become all that he or she can be, or they can be. You have an intent to help them become beautiful, to meet their goals. So there's an intention in there. And when you think about it, there are 3 places you deliver your skills: one-to-one, one-to-many, and one to the camera. So there are 3 different ways that you're going to use your skills accordingly. That's my dog, Sienna. I showed you my 2 dogs earlier. That's my dog. That dog does not leave my side all day long. How many of you have a dog? I knew there were some people I liked more than others. But the good thing is that dog ownership, there's a study done with 3.8 million participants followed for 10 years, and those folks who had a dog had a 24% decrease in all-cause mortality and a 31% decreased risk for cardiovascular disease. So your dog is helping to keep you well. Now, you know that 6-foot thing where you got to keep 6 feet away from people? Where did that come from? You are emanating electromagnetic energy from your brain and from your heart. We can detect the electromagnetic energy from your heart 3 feet from your body. So when you are within 6 feet of someone else, literally your energy, your heart energy, is becoming coherent. And if you are there in that moment with that attention and attending, you are actually getting resonance. And this is actually one of the things that happens with closeness and proximity and what we really lost during COVID. Now, here's another thing you need to remember, that presence is mediated. Your presence is always strongest when you're one-to-one in the consult. And it's diluted as you go one-to-many. And diluted more when you go one to the camera. So there's dilution. So if you think about it, the consult is where your presence is strongest. And there are 4 tools. The first we've talked about actually was resonance. Getting close, getting that heart rate, mirroring body language, mirroring tone of voice. Using the kind of language that appeals to their unique temperament. Is this a very grounded person that I need to be very crisp with? A high logic person where I present a logical argument. A high relationship person in which I'm really attending to their feelings. A highly creative person in which we're exploring the future of that treatment plan. Time, you need time. And I'm so delighted to hear that you folks are spending 45 minutes in your consults. That's great. I mean, that sure beats the 12-minute traditional allopathic visit. Where would you like me to call in your prescription, right? Empathy, inquiry, ethics, these are all the components. Now, this is my favorite study. This is a study done by Ted Kapchik. It's a fake sham acupuncture study in which they just took needles and stuck them any place in people with irritable bowel syndrome, 262 subjects. Broke them into 3 groups. One group just waited to see if they got better. The other group got the 12-minute standard visit. And the third group got the augmented visit. Now, what was the augmented visit? This was a visit in which the practitioners demonstrated ideal communication. So they asked questions about, hey, how's this affecting your life, your relationships, the cause and meaning of your condition? They had a warm, friendly manner. They did active listening. They did ask for clarification. Empathy, hey, this must really be hard for you. They communicated confidence and positive expectations. I've had so much success with using acupuncture to treat IBS, IBD. I'm sure this will work for you. And then this is my absolute favorite, 20 seconds of thoughtful silence, feeling the pulse. Why did we used to take the pulse? Presence, moment, be here now, just feeling the pulse, just thinking about their issue, their condition, what it means for them. So that pause is such a beautifully important moment. And what does the study show? In all the measures, global improvement, symptom severity, quality of life, etc., just what you'd expect. The group that did the best had the augmented visit, much better than the traditional visit, and then better, in fact, than the control group. Now, I'd like to shift focus here. We've been talking a little bit about one-to-one. Now I want to go one-to-many. And how do you craft a memorable presentation? Now, the first thing I think that's important is that this was a little survey done in the functional medicine world a few years back, and they surveyed a bunch of practitioners, and those practitioners who agreed with the statement that a public talk was a very effective patient recruiting method earned $28,000 more than their peers. What that means is you speak in your community, you hold open houses, you use the power of one-to-many for the benefit of your practice. Now, here's what I'd like to do, and I'd like if you would just do this little exercise with me. Let's all sit up straight, actually. See, you've lost weight already. I don't even need Ozempic. You look like you look terrific. Take a moment and think of the best presentation you've ever attended in your whole life. Who gave it? When was it? Where were you? Why was that presentation so powerful that weeks, months, years later, you remember it? First person to share this, raise your hand. Remember, good things come to those who share. So who'd like to give me an example? Come on, let's go. Yeah.
I went to a women's conference many years ago, and this one woman, she basically just got up and gave a life application, but with her personal testimony attached to it. And I remember she was up on the stage with great music and her emotions of how she dealt with it, and that has stuck with me all these years.
Yeah. There was an emotive quality there, and you felt that. You felt her pain, suffering, joy, energy, and you can connect on that. Okay, so because you shared, we'll give you a copy of Enhance Your Presence. This is my little book, but I'll put this up here. Oh yeah, here, just grab that. There you go. Mm-hmm. Let's get back to work. So, you give presents, there's all sorts of presents. When I asked this question, if I had more time and energy, people say, oh, your presentation was inspirational, it moved me, it moved you. You were moved by the presentation. It was humorous, it was a great story, I could relate to it, it was authentic, it made things clearer. Now, you give presentations all the time. That's what you do in your job. You give them to consumers, to patients. You're always presenting things. You give them to large audiences, small audiences, short presentations, long presentations, technical or motivational presentations. So let's figure out how you can get good at them. First thing is, if you're asked to speak at a group, always win before you get on stage. What do I mean by that? By winning, you go around to the audience, you get there early, and you go around and you ask people, hey, hi, I'm Mark Tager. Who are you? What do you do? What would you like to get out of my presentation? How could I serve you today? I'm speaking next. What would you like to get out of that? So always get there early, grab a few names. Now, that also has a wonderful effect of dampening anxiety. And because you're looking out in the audience, and you spoke to, Steve, you spoke to Steve, and you spoke to John, and you spoke to Molly, and you kind of get that. So that dampens things. So familiarize yourself with the audience. The next thing is that presentations really need to have structure. And I find that the easiest way for me to do a presentation is to have an open 3 or 4 things I'd like to get across, and then a close. And I spend a lot of my time thinking about the introductions. about, I don't ever thank, I'd like to thank the committee for allowing me to come speak here and coming to, and do you have such a great baseball team or football team or hockey team or whatever? You just wasted your ammunition, right? Get up and do something meaningful. Hook them. Hook them in the first. You guys want to have some fun today? Yay! So you got to hook them. And so I rehearse my opens in my mind, and each one is a little different. It's a little unique. And I come up with them just kind of beforehand. Please keep it simple. Many of you may have the gift, the curse of knowledge, which means you know more about your stuff than anybody else, and you can have people drinking from your fire hose. And how much stuff do people really recommend? I mean, 6 months from now, you'll say, oh yeah, that was that guy, I can't remember, Tiger or Tahir or something, and he said I should create new possibilities in the minds and hearts of others. I remember that part. Err on the side of interactivity, which we'll be doing another interactive exercise in just a few minutes. Tell stories. I'm going to tell you a story in just a moment. Why do you tell stories? Because stories light up more parts of the brain. What makes a story great? Well, a couple of things. It makes a point, it's concise, it's captivating, engages our senses, and it evokes a universal feeling. Now, how do you do this on video? Video is even more challenging. So what you do is you project happiness and gratitude, you speak conversationally, you adopt a powerful posture, you keep your core still, you speak. There's a dermatologist in New York who's very famous. She's beautiful. And when she speaks, she's got this she's a Park Avenue dermatologist. She's hoity-toity. When she speaks, she's like, I'm just one of you guys. Hey, guys. And she doesn't say it, but when she goes to the camera, in her mind, she says, like, hey, guys. You know, which just sets the tone for how she's going to come across to you. Now, you got to grab and hold attention. And it's a funny thing that happens that when we want to get people's attention, very often we start speaking loudly and quickly, loud and quick. This is what happens all the time, loud and quick. When really, what's the best way to get people's attention? I want to tell you a secret. It's a secret known only by a few people. It's that when you twist the Oreo, you want to twist it to the right. Now, it's whatever. That's the first thing that came into my mind was the Oreo. I saw that commercial. But the point is, when you really want to get a point across, what do? You don't go up and loud. You go down. You pause. You take people with you, okay? And that's a beautiful thing in the consult. You drop the tone. You have a more intimate voice. Let's talk a little bit about voice, tone, gestures, and body language. My daughter grew up in Southern California, and every third word was like. And so when I took her, I'd drive her to school, and she would sit with her friends, like, like Billy was, and like Sally was. And I said to Marissa, I'm charging you, I'm deducting 25 cents from your allowance every time we're in the car and you or your friends does a lame language like. Took care of it. Wiped it out. You want to vary the tone, the volume, and the pacing of your voice, as I've been trying to do. Shift it up every 15 minutes. And now you also want to master gestures and posture. So here's where we'll do a little interactive thing. Levantarse. Stand up. Let's go, everybody, stand up. Oh, that feels good. You know, I was a little concerned that you were getting ischemia of your posterior ischial tuberosities. Yeah, it's a dreadful condition that happens. Okay, so here's what I want you to sort of do. I'll do a few of them and then you'll help me. Show me that your practice was small and it grew. Show me. My practice started out small. Do it with me. Small. And then it grew. We started out in a little store. And now we're a big enterprise. Now, when you're on the main stage here, you can go small and big. And I can go small and big. When you're on camera, everything is from here and above. And it's small and big. Show me how we used to do something then and we're doing it now. Then we did it this way. And now we're doing it this way. So we used to inject collagen, really, but we'd have to allergy test people. But today, we have all these great fillers there. Show me that you're thinking about something. Show me that you're not certain about the course of something, the course of an action. Yeah, I don't know about that. Show me that you really deeply care about something. How do you do that? Yeah. There's a moment where, you know, when we teach people to do their welcome my practice videos, it goes like this. When I am your doctor, when you never point the gun, you know, I know it's Texas, but you don't point the gun. You do the underhanded thing. When you come to see me and we care for you, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that all works. Count. You know, there's 3 reasons you need to do this, right? 1, 2, 3. So gestures really amplify your message, right? Got it? And you want to use that. You want to use it when you're on video, but keep it tight. 3 things we're going to talk about today. 1, 2, 3. I think this is really important. You know, it used to be this way. Now it's that way. I really, you know, I believe in this. This is important. This is an important thing for all of us to do. So those gestures really reinforce things. Siéntese, por favor. Okay, so that's gestures, posture. You want to stick the landing. You don't want to slink off the stage. Oh, I hope you kind of like this. You know, you want to stick the landing. Now, who here, if I were to say there's 5,000 people in the audience, and I need you, any one of you, to come up and give a talk for 15 minutes. Who would be nervous? Some of you would say, oh, yeah, I'd be glad to do that. So I'll tell you a little story about slaying the presentation dragon, the nervousness. I haven't told you much of my story, but I'd rather do stuff with you than tell you about me necessarily. But started out family practice, realized my gift was one-to-many over one-to-one, directed health promotion for Kaiser Permanente, where we trained people to go into workplaces and we trained them in presentation skills. Had my own publishing and training company that I ran for 10 years before selling it to Mosby Yearbook, a medical publishing company. Then I got involved with Fraxel Laser, where I was the founding marketing officer for the Fraxel and Cineron and Lutronic, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the point I make there is when I had my publishing company, I had a little company at the time. I had like 6 people when I started out. I grew it to 70 people. And I got a gig doing a talk at the YPO, the Young Presidents Organization, on the stress techniques for running a business. The YPO is the most prestigious group of American industrialists. And I'd written a book called Working Well with the wife of the one-minute manager, and that was Marjorie Blanchard. It was it was like the number 6 of my 11 books. And it was the first book that we coined the term bad bosses and looked at how bad bosses make people sick. Well, so here I am. I've got to give this talk to this captains of industry. And I'm sitting there with Ken Blanchard, the 1 Minute Manager. He said, Mark, you look a little nervous. I said, well, how do you know that? He said, well, you've got this red rash that's starting in your chin, going all the way down to your right shoulder, and you're shaking, and there's sweat. Then I had, then I had a little hair, and there was sweat dripping down my hair. He said, look, I get it, I'm going to help you with that. And he gave me a mantra that I've used for the next 1,000 talks. And I use it all the time. It's in my DNA now. So here it is for you. The mantra is, I'm glad I'm here. You project happiness and joy wherever you are. I'm so glad I'm in South Dakota speaking to 5 people, and I traveled for 2 days to get here in this snowstorm, but I'm glad I'm here. Got it? You've got to have that number 1. Remember on video to smile and be happy. Okay, second one, I'm glad you're here. Thank you for being here, because if you weren't here, there'd be no reason for me to be here. So thank you for your time, your energy, your sacrifice to get here, the money that you paid these good people at Sinclair. Thank you. Here's the one that gets every single one of us. I know what I know. We have been graded, we have been judged, we have been measured in school and training against somebody else. And who am I to give this talk? What do I really know? So there was 5 years ago, I was doing some work trying to come up with an oral agent that increased GLP-1 and tickled the L cells in the gut to produce more GLP-1. So I was speaking on the subject of gut sensory modulation at the Obesity Society. Now, I'd studied about 3 or 4 months on this field, and I'm looking at the audience, and 2 of the guys whose papers I'm citing are right there in the audience. Oh, shit. Well, that was one way to do it. Here's the other thought process that I, reflecting on my mantra. I know what I know. And here's what you have to hold on to. Take this one home with you, because I know all of us suffer from the imposter syndrome to some extent. Your synthesis, your experience, your stories, how you get your point across may be just the right thing at the right moment to do what? Light up new possibilities in the minds and hearts of others. You never know when you do. I'll never forget, there was a moment I'm really proud of. My folks said, what are you doing this wellness stuff? Why didn't you become a cardiologist? Or, if you become an OBGYN, we could get a brownstone in New York and you'd be rich and famous. What is this wellness stuff that you're doing? And I'm in an elevator with my parents in Vegas. And this woman is with her husband. And she's staring at me. Maybe I think I'm somebody else. You're Dr. Tager. I went to a talk you gave years ago, and it changed my life. You couldn't, that was one of the most amazing moments. You would think that was staged and paid for, but you just never know when something you say or what you do or the way you do it ignites new possibilities in minds and hearts. And the last thing is that I care about you. So I cared about your ischemia of your posterior ischial tuberosities. I knew you were getting a little bit, Yeah. So we worked that out. So there's a difference between selling and motivating. You don't want to sell. You want to inspire and motivate. You're there to ignite a possibility in the minds and hearts of your audience. How do you come across credibly, authentically, trustworthy? You've got a little decision to make about how open you want that kimono to be. I just got done interviewing a number of really cool women who are doing a lot of hormone work. And I asked, because when do you disclose? When do you disclose your own struggles with hormones and hormonal health? And there wasn't a hard and fast rule for this. What there was, you kind of sense it and you feel it, and it's not for you, it's for them. You're not doing it because you need to tell someone about your struggles and your challenges and get things off your shoulders. It's there as a pearl and a gift of the presence, to see if that, in fact, would help them. So I think it's very important to have live feedback. I will tell you that we do create these 2-day training courses that are truly transformative if you want to improve your consultation or your speaking skills. Next one's coming up in Brea, California, and that's in mid-May. You can learn more at presentwell.net. Of all the stuff I do, and I do a lot of stuff, this is the most fun, because it's like when you're doing what you love and you're totally serving, time flies. It's a truly magical moment. So I hope this last half hour has been time well spent by all of us, and I thank you so much.